Okay.
I think we've got everybody in.
Yep. Let's get started. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar on Coupa release number 44. By way of introduction, my name is Matt Horner, and I'm a P2P architect here at Barker's. I've focused mostly on core P2P platform configuration, as well as a bit of sourcing and SIM setup during my time here. And I'm joined by my two colleagues, Luke and Craig, if you'd both like to introduce yourselves quickly.
Cheers. Hi everyone, I'm Luke. I've worked at Barker's as a solution architect for 5 years now. So I own and lead end-to-end Coupa implementations, and I've done this across all the Coupa products and many different industries. Nice to meet you all.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Craig, and I'm also a P2P architect at Barker's. I've been involved in a number of Coupa implementations across the Coupa suite, and I work with both Matt and Luke in supporting our clients with their implementations. Back to you, Matt.
Yeah, thanks both. So today we're going to be taking you through some of the key updates on this new release. We'll be running through each new feature, doing some demonstrations of how it works in the system and discussing some of the benefits as well. Please note at the end there'll be lots of time for questions, but in the meantime, please do use the Q&A feature on this Teams call at the top to write down any questions you have as we move along. Now, moving on to the agenda for this morning, we're going to have procurement updates first. Then we'll have a look at changes in risk-aware invoicing and InvoiceSmash before looking at payments and finally virtual card. Now, at the end, we will also have a quick section covering how you can prepare for this new release. And as I said earlier, we will also have lots of time for Q&A at the very end as well. So without further ado, I'll be covering the first section, which are the procurement updates. So we've got two updates for this section, and I'll give you a quick background on both before I move on to a demo. So the first change, which you'll see on the left here, is the added ability to highlight preferred suppliers in search. This is basically what it says it is, and it helps users to quickly find and buy items from your preferred suppliers by surfacing them higher in your search results. So at the bottom there, you'll see that this is on by default, so you won't have to switch anything on. It will not affect your roles and permissions. And in terms of integrations, there are some new inbound and outbound APIs, as well as some new CSV imports for that. Now, moving on to the right-hand side of this slide, which is the new order list enhancements. There are two updates here, really. The first new feature is now an order list will now appear in both search and search panel results if the terms match the order list name. This basically makes it easier for users to identify the right order list and then add those items they need to the cart. In addition to this, visual order lists have also been reintroduced. So you may have heard of this before, you might not have, but it was an old feature that they took out, but now it's been reintroduced. So this allows you to upload an image, like a diagram or a schematic, and then associate items from the order list with specific locations on that image. On the bottom there, this is on by default, so once again, you will not have to switch anything on, and it will not affect your roles and permissions, and it will not affect your role integrations either. So I'll show you what those two updates for procurement look like in the system. So the first one, which was the highlight preferred suppliers in search. If I go into a Coupa instance here and search for an item such as a laptop, the results will now show items from preferred suppliers at the top of the search. And you can see that Coupa has done that here. There are two items from preferred suppliers at the top. The user will be able to see which items are from preferred suppliers because the system will highlight the word preferred at the top of each item as well. In addition to this, there is the new filter preferred suppliers toggle on the top left of this page. This is a button that narrows the results to show only items from your preferred suppliers if the user wishes to select that. Now, moving on to the order list enhancements. The first enhancement was another feature to do with the search function. So if I were to search for an item such as a new starter, the search function will now automatically surface any related order lists in a banner at the top of the search results. So you can see that the system has done this and it has surfaced the new starter order list. And from there, the user can just click on that and it'll take them automatically to the order list where they can add all these items to their cart quicker and easier. So the second order list enhancement, which was the reintroduction of the visual order lists. If I go to setup and order lists, and if you wanted to create a new order list, I'll just click on create quickly. You can see that there is a new functionality here at the bottom, which says virtual order. Now, if you were to click on that choose file button, it'll take you to your gallery where you can automatically select any image you want to associate with this order list. I'll just show you what that will look like from a user point of view. If I go to the home page and click on this motor order list, this was one that I created earlier. You can see that the order list now has this image attached to it for the user to see. And in addition to this, underneath the picture, you will also be able to see a more detailed list of items presented in like a data table format. Now, that was it for the procurement updates. Moving quickly on to risk aware. There's only one update from here, which I will cover off briefly. So this is that this is the automated dashboard recalculation, excuse me. This means that the dashboard will now automatically recalculate supplier data for you in the background. So your data will load faster when you access the dashboard, and supplier and spend risk values will refresh automatically, ultimately giving your users a bit more up-to-date information on the system. I can show you what this new dashboard looks like on the risk aware dashboard. So I'm on the risk aware dashboard homepage here, and the first new feature you'll see is this new recalculate button in the top right. This lets the user to refresh dashboard data on demand and give them the latest accurate information. So if I click on that, you'll see a banner appear now, which says the risk recalculation has started successfully. This means the system is recalculating all this data in the background for you. In addition to this, once it's finished recalculating all that data, this last updated timestamp will update to show the user when the dashboard was most recently refreshed. So if I were to refresh on this home page, it'll now update to when I clicked the recalculate button, which was 10:09 a.m. And yeah, that was it for the risk aware updates. And I believe we're going to be moving on to invoicing now with Luke.
Cheers, Matt. Thank you. So on invoicing, we have a couple of things to cover. So we've got 2 new updates on credit notes, and then we have a little bit on InvoiceSmash as well. So in terms of credit notes, we have the first functionality, which is credit note linked. So this is a new column in the invoice area. It means that we can track if your credit note has been linked to an invoice. It is on by default in the system. It doesn't affect your roles and permissions. It doesn't affect your integrations. It essentially means you can track if your credit notes have been linked. You can use this in approval chains. You can build process builders to manage these credit notes, and you can also use them in custom fields. Next up, we have a couple more features on credit notes called the credit note enhancements. This is not on by default, so we need to turn them on or off or customize them in our in our company information area. I'll show you an example of this for the Coupa supplier portal. The first functionality is that we now, as a supplier, are unable to submit a credit note in unless the original invoice number and the original invoice date match. So this essentially blocks them and gives them an error message when they try to submit a credit code note that is not properly linked to an invoice. Additionally, we have the allow by credit notes on supplier invoices button. So we can turn this on as well, and it essentially means that we can create credit notes against invoices that have been submitted by a supplier through the CSP, for example, whereas previously you could only do it if it was a buyer created invoice. Again, neither are on by default. I'll show you how to turn those on in the system. It doesn't have any impact on your roles and permissions. It's not role-based access control, and it doesn't have any effect on your integrations. So I'm very quickly going to jump into the system and show you this invoice linked area. So if I come into my credit notes, I can show you that we've got this link to invoice area. So this will tell me if the credit note has an invoice associated with it properly. And again, the main benefit of this is that you can now build processes to handle invoices that aren't linked to an invoice, because we can use it in the process builder, we can use it in approval chains, and of course we can create reports and custom reports of it. Next up, I'm going to show you in the Coupa supplier portal the other functionality, which is blocking the submission of credit notes when we don't have the correct original invoice number on it. So if I edit this credit note, just being a little bit slow, you'll see that I've got an original invoice number in here and an original invoice date. These are not correct, so it's going to give me an error when I try and submit it. So if I send the credit note in, I'm going to get an error at the very top of my screen. Credit note cannot be created. No invoice was found for the provided original invoice number and original invoice date. So this is telling me your invoice number is wrong or your invoice number's date is wrong. And in this instance, it's both. So I'm going to hop back into the system and show you our other piece of functionality, which is the supplier created credit notes. So if I come in, I try and create a credit note in here. Historically, these invoices in here were only buyer created invoices. Now your supplier created invoices are also going to show up in here. So you can create them against supplier created invoices, which is a great new functionality. And finally, I'm going to show you where you can turn these off and on. So if you come into settings, company information, taking a little bit of time, just going to shortcut my way down there. And you'll see that this is the area in which we can turn this on. So it's applicable to the Coupa supplier portal and SAN. It's applicable to CXML and SFTP. So whatever route you're getting these invoices in, you can prevent your suppliers from submitting credit notes with the wrong information on, essentially. And then finally, we have this button here, allow buyer credit notes on supplier invoices, which allows us to search in that drop down that I just showed you. So jumping back into the pack, we have a little bit more to show on InvoiceSmash. So we have two new features. Number one is extraction feedback. So historically, extraction feedback, we could only do at the draft stage. So when we receive an invoice through Smash, it processes it, pulls all that nice information out for us. We could only say that's right, that's wrong at that stage. Now we are able to do that at approve stage. It's on by default. It doesn't affect your roles and permissions, and it doesn't affect your integrations either. But essentially, it allows us to process them later in your process. Next up, we have custom enrichment rules. So we have a new functionality here that allows you to link to requester. So if you have a particular supplier or you have a particular field on your InvoiceSmash that's consistently getting extracted and you want to say this person deals with that, you can now route that to a requester of your choice. So it's this requester field here. and I'll show you how to create that. And they're both on by default. They have no impact on your roles and permissions and no impact on your integrations. So I'm going to come into the system and show you what those look like as well. So firstly, I'm going to come into my invoice area, go into my InvoiceSmash, and find an approved InvoiceSmash invoice here. So historically, we could only do this in draft. Now, if we click edit, we can click our little settings button and we can do our extraction feedback at this stage. So we can do it in approved status later on down the line. Next up, I'm going to come into my InvoiceSmash draft and show you the other functionality, which is our custom enrichment rules. So if I come into this invoice here and I click edit, you'll see custom mapping pops up here. So we can custom map and make rules for our InvoiceSmash invoices that are received. So I'm going to do something very simple here. I'm going to say if the seller name is Ryman's, put the requester as, I'm going to pick on you, Craig Riley. So every time you receive an InvoiceSmash invoice, it's going to put Craig Riley as the requester when the seller name has been extracted as Ryman's. That's all from me. Over to you, Craig.
Thank you, Luke. So I'll start with the two updates related to payments. So for each one, I'll briefly explain what's changing, and then we'll talk through both updates together in a single demo. So the first update is the introduction of customer account numbers on invoices, which gives you an additional way to support payment reconciliation. So with this release, you can now add a customer account number to an invoice. And so once it's been added, the number is included in remittance notifications and is also printed on checks. So to enable this feature, you want to go to Settings and then Invoice and select Invoice Presentations. And once it's switched on, the customer account number is populated directly from invoices that are entered through API, CSV, CXML, the CSP where the supplier has created the invoice, or invoices created directly within Coupa. This feature is switched off by default. It doesn't affect your user roles or permissions, but it does have an impact on your integrations, as you'll need to update both the CSV import invoice header and the inbound API invoice header to support the new field. The second payment update is the introduction of the payment order reference numbers on invoices also. So this information also helps you track payments more easily and supports payment reconciliation further down the line. So with this release, the payment order reference is now sent with check payments and included in remittance emails. And this applies to both via printed checks and checks that are downloaded via the CSP. This feature is switched on by default. It doesn't affect your user roles or permissions, and there are no impact on your existing integrations. So next, I'm just going to quickly show you these two updates in the system. So first, I'm going to outline where these fields are set up. So from the home page, if I navigate over to Setup, and in the search bar, type in Invoice and click on Invoice Presentations, it'll take me to the Invoice Presentations page. If I then click on the pencil icon for the UK presentation, it's here that I'll be able to add those new fields to the invoice. If I scroll down to the bottom of the field section, you'll see that the payment order reference and the customer account number have already been ticked. And this is all the setup that you'll need to do for these two. To show this in practice, I've already created an order with a dummy UK supplier to show you this change on the supplier side, as these fields will be for their use. So from the orders page on the CSP, if I click on the gold coin icon for any order, it will let me create an invoice once it loads. Once we select the legal entity for that and press save, Scroll up, and in the general info section, you'll be able to see that the customer account number and the payment order reference are now here. I then fill these fields out for 112233 for the customer account number and ABC123 for the payment order reference. And then if we input a order number, invoice number, sorry, and scroll down and add in a VAT rate and click submit and send invoice, this invoice should now be sent over to Coupa. So if we go back to Coupa and navigate to the Invoices tab, you'll now see the invoice that we have just sent. So if I click into that invoice, and again, under the general info section, you'll see that the customer account number and the payment order references have both come through. So both these updates will help improve payment tracking and reconciliation. And as mentioned earlier, when the invoice is paid from Coupa, both of these fields will also be included in the remittance advice. So our final update focuses on the ability to display full virtual card details directly within the Coupa mobile app. So with this release, users now have a secure and seamless way to view full virtual card details without leaving the app. So as a Coupa mobile user with Coupa Pay enabled, you can unmask and view key card information, including the primary account number, the CVV, the expiry, and the cardholder name. And this is an improvement on previous experiences where users were redirected to a web browser and had to re-authenticate in order to view those details. Overall, this update helps to streamline workflows for users who are working on the move, making it both quicker and easier to access the information that they need. This feature is switched on by default. It does have an impact on your roles and permissions, as only those users with the appropriate API, Coupa Pay, expenses, or payment batch roles and the relevant API-specific permissions will be able to see and use this functionality. And lastly, there is also no impact on your existing integration, So to locate this new feature in the app, we have created a quick guide as per the screenshots on the slide. So first, once you've had a virtual card issued to yourself, you can locate it by clicking on the virtual card section at the top of the home page. Second, once you've tapped into that next page, here is where you can view all of the virtual cards that are being issued to you. You want to find the card you want to view the details of and then click into it. And then finally, once you've done that, you'll want to tap View Details, and those details should now be made visible to you directly in the app without you being redirected through to the web browser. So finally, I'll quickly take you through how to prepare for new changes for these new releases. So first is to review the release. You want to assess the new features to understand any impact on your current configurations and processes. The second is to update configuration. You want to make any required system or configuration changes to align with the new releases. The third is to test thoroughly. You'll want to run both test scenarios and gather user feedback to resolve any issues that you might have before going live with the new releases. Fourth is to train users. You want to provide some targeted training and updated user guidance to support the adoption of these new releases. Finally is go live support. You'll want to manage deployment into production and offer support to users during the rollout of these new updates. So if any of you have any questions about today's releases, or you'd like to speak with our delivery director about a potential Coupa project, please get in touch using the QR code to book in a meeting with him. And that brings us nicely to the end now. Does anyone have any questions relating to any of these releases?
If you've got any questions, please put them in the Q&A chat and we'll pick them up now. We've got a couple in there at the moment from Sam. How do you assign a preferred supplier on Coupa? Matt, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I believe that was my section. So preferred suppliers are usually assigned via item or commodity associations on Coupa, but I can show you that in the system. I think that makes things a little bit easier. So if I navigate to the setup page here, and firstly, I'll show you how you can assign a preferred supplier on a commodity. You search for commodities. And if we wanted to select a commodity such as IT hardware, if we scroll down, you can see that there is a functionality here to search for any supplier and select them as a preferred supplier. So, for example, if I wanted to assign Lenovo as a preferred supplier, I'll just search them up and then save this commodity. And that's how you assign them via a commodity. But you can also do that with items on the system if you want to as well. So if I navigate to the items on the setup page here, and we can see our full list of items. But for example, if I wanted to assign a preferred supplier to this wireless mouse item, I would click edit on this item. And then at the bottom here, you can see that there is the option to tick whether you want this supplier to be preferred or not. And yeah, hopefully that's answered your question, Sam. Cheers.
Perfect, thank you. What's the value add of being able to do extraction feedback at approved status in Smash? So the primary gain in this area is that we can process invoices that need to be processed quickly, and still teach the AI what feedback is correct, etc., whilst not having to wait for that process for someone to do the extraction feedback. We've got another question. How exactly can I be issued a virtual card on the app? Craig?
Yeah. So to be issued a virtual card, you'll first need to request one in Coupa. So this can be done in a couple of ways. First is by requesting a virtual card against a specific supplier, or by using your organization's one-time virtual card request form, if that's enabled. You can submit this request either through the Coupa mobile app or the web browser. And then once submitted, it will follow sort of your organization standard approval workflows. And after that request has been approved and the virtual card will then be issued, and it will automatically appear in the virtual card section at the top of your Coupa mobile homepage.
Thanks, Craig. We've got another question from Esther. Are the new fields in the invoicing available for CXML files, e.g. Amazon Punchout, or only manual entry? I'm just going to unmute you very quickly so we can just clarify that. Hi, Esther. Could you, are you able to speak?
Hello, sorry. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, we can hear you, absolutely. Could you just refer to as to which fields, because we had a couple, we had some on credit notes, we had someone on Craig's bit.
So on the invoicing, basically the payment reference or purchase order reference, I forgot what the actual field was called.
Mm-hmm.
But basically this is one of, or customer account, sorry, I think this is the one, customer account. Where basically this is one of our issues that Amazon wants their own account number on the payments. So I was just wondering, are they aware, can it be in in the punch out settings as well, or is this just for a manual entry on the invoicing basically?
Craig, I'll open the floor to you if you have the answer there. So it does affect our integration, so it's something that can be pulled through on that side. I can check for you to see if you can pull it through in your punch out side as well, unless Craig, you have the information on you now.
Yeah, I think it was in release notes that it is available in a punch out, but again, we'll probably have to go back and check that that's possible. Yeah.
Fabulous. We'll drop you an email and just confirm that.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Fabulous. Any other questions from people? We can unmute if it's easier. Oh, I think we've got one come through. Are the custom account reference and payment order reference mandatory fields in the portal for suppliers to complete? So they just
No.
fields, great.
Yeah, sorry. So they can be. You can make both the fields required or not required at your own. So it's completely up to you on how you set them up, but they can be done either way. It's entirely up to you.
Fabulous. Thanks, Ellen. Thanks, Craig. Any other questions? Okay, fabulous. I'll end it there then. Thank you so much for attending today, everyone. I hope it was really helpful, and hopefully we'll see you on the next webinar. We'll drop you that email, Esther. Thank you.